My apology, man. I'm a work in progress. People, here's going to be the second part to that video. I accidentally hit the wrong button and shut her down. So my apologies, but yeah. So I went and I put put my dog down today. He was getting bad. It was just time, you know. He's a 12-year-old uh, lab, about 100-pound dog. He just had all kinds of issues, and it started about a year ago, and they just progressively got worse. He had ear infection, real bad ear infection. I couldn't afford the meds to take care of it, and it would give him problems, and he'd itch a lot. And a couple nights ago, I reached over there to itch for him and help him out, and he was like, I pulled my thumb out, and it was covered in looked like black tar or something. I about knocked me out. It was so rank, man. And he was getting more despondent, and he was getting slower, and he was getting confused, really, really confused. He lost control of his bowels a couple nights ago, and he ruined one of my mom's carpets. That sucked. He was getting pretty unpredictable in his behavior sometime, and he was, being honest, just keeping it real. He was kind of getting to be a burden to mainly to my mom and brother, because I have a pretty busy life. I have a lot going on, and I'm away quite a bit. And they were saddled with him, and it wasn't fair to them, especially where he was having so many problems and everything. So it just worked out today that we were able to agree that it was time. Me and my brother, my mom, and everything. So me and my brother just took him over, and it was pretty hard, man. I'm not gonna lie. The act of having it done was actually harder than afterward. Transporting him home and putting him in the grave that I dug for him and everything. That wasn't nearly as bad as the act itself. Because I just knew, like, as I was driving over with him, I was like, tell my brother, this is his last drive, and then he has no clue, right? This is it. You're going on your last ride, buddy. And I wasn't expecting, when we went in there, I wasn't expecting the doctor. He told me, he says, I want you to sit down, and we're going to, so we should sit in this chair, and we're going to have him sit between your legs. And if you would, I would like you to reach over and wrap your arms around him from behind and hug him and comfort him, you know. And so I did. I just wrapped my arms around him in a big hug, and I scratched his chest, and I talked in his ear. I don't want to get too detailed, but it didn't take long. Them drugs work real quick, just like bam, he just immediately, like a couple of like that, he kind of just went down. And he kind of made a little bit of a whimper, like not really a whimper, I wouldn't call it a whimper, but more of a, it was kind of like a kind of like that. No, kind of like, weird, I don't know. And that was it. And then the doctor's like, well, his heart's not beating anymore. Took out his stethoscope, said that's it, and they put him on a gurney and put him in the backseat of my car. And I mean, of course, you can't see it now, but I was a mess, man. I had my sunglasses on, I was shaking, I was crying like a baby. They were apologizing, sorry, and my brother was there, and he was bawling because, it reminded him of when he had to have his dog put down a few years ago. And so I brought him home, and I already had him laying on a towel in the back seat. I got a little video, you'll see. I put it, posted it where he's got a red, white, and blue blanket on him and everything. And I just, I took some twine. Since he was already laying on a towel and he had a blanket on him, I just wrapped him up in it tight. Took some twine, and I tied his legs, and I tied his head in place, and I wrapped him up real good in a tarp, and I just drug him on the tarp because he's pretty heavy. I just drug him on the tarp, got him over to the hole, rolled him in the hole, and buried him. That was it. and Buster's kind of, he's doing all right. I'm gonna actually let him sleep with me tonight if he will in my room. But he's you can tell he's kind of a little like kind of checking things out, but he's doing okay. He's handling it all right. So, of course, again, death is always one of those things that immediately gets you thinking about life, and why we're here, what's going on. Just death. I think the Bible. I'm being honest with you here. I'm not going to get religious on you, and but it's just I believe there's a passage in the Bible that says something in the neighborhood of in life we're amongst death or whatever, and I think that's pretty profound and pretty true, and it's the great circle of life, right? It's the circle of life. Not much of a singer, but so yeah, it's a circle of life. It's just part of ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You people just I've said it in these videos so many times, and me and my brother Shane, he's 57 years old. Me and him were texting back and forth today, and he was like, "Man, you know, can you believe how quick uh, 40 years has passed? 40 years, like, because he was like, dude, 40 years ago you were 12, 13. I was, like 17. That was 40 years ago, man. We used to rock out to Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, freaking Rat, Great White, freaking, Cinderella. We listened to Pink Floyd and Michael Jackson, Prince. We listened to it all, but mainly rock and roll. And we'd break down the albums, we discuss them, we talk about them. But we were talking about our memories as looking back, how they seem to fade sometimes. Some memories are pretty vivid still, but like memories, they tend to fade. Like sometimes I think real hard. I'm like, man, I don't remember much of that. And sometimes one of my other brothers will remember something more than I do, or they'll remember it a different way, or I'll remember it a different way. And it kind of scares me because I'm like, well, man, as I get older, how much of that stuff's going to go away? Hopefully I'll remember, most of it. But anyways, yeah, my son, my youngest, he just went over the mountain. He doesn't know about the dog yet. I'm not going to tell him or his sister or anybody just yet because I know they're not going to be too happy about it. So I'm just going to let it. I'm going to let it rest. But so he's going to call in or text or whatever. We text at the same time usually, and when he's away, we still watch our wrestling programs, and we just do it over the phone together that way. So it was a sad day, but in a way, it was a little bit of a relief because now I can move on to the next chapter of my life. I want to have a little more freedom. My littler dog, he's a lot easier to drive around with, to hold, to clean up after, to deal with. He's much easier, and he's not going to be as hard on my mom and brother to take care of. And I won't feel so guilty when I need to be away from them. And some things are going to be changing in my life, man. I'm going to start getting out there. I'm going to start seeing some family and friends that I haven't seen in a while. I'm going to start fixing these places up, and I'll record some of these adventures. I noticed that I'm up to 10 subscribers now. I had 0 when I started, and I had only 3 faithful followers for a while. Now I'm up to 10, and I hope that just keeps climbing. I'm not going to sit here and beg for subscribers and stuff like that, but I obviously, when you're putting out content, if you get people that are paying attention to what you're doing, then it definitely, it makes you feel good, and I would really appreciate it. So subscribe, please. This is Brandon for Still Standing Somehow, and I'll catch you again soon.